Welcome, everybody. So let's start off with, I always tell my clients, start off with the problem. So there's a big problem in America, right? According to the SBA, 50% of all startups don't exist 5 years later. So why is that? Why does that happen? Well, according to a recent survey by Fractal, is that 65% of businesses that report why they failed, of the 200 businesses that they surveyed, 65% reported a business model or customer discovery was the reason for that failure. Another survey by CB Insights, they got more responses, or they got a little bit more in depth, and about 94% of the responses were regarding business model development and customer discovery. So that's what we want to focus on, is helping businesses to develop that business model better and to actually go out and talk to customers to find out if this will work in the marketplace. So what we developed was a program called Brave Launch, Business Accelerator, and Chad's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Excellent, thanks Ross. So I don't know if you've all know Steve Blank's name. He wrote that book, The Startup Owner's Manual. This Business Accelerator that we're putting on will be the first of its kind in Central Illinois. It's based off of the curriculum in the Startup Owner's Manual and a program called I-Core that the NSF does. And so just kind of quick background, Steve Blank, very successful entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, turned adjunct faculty at Stanford and Berkeley, and he teaches engineering classes, and he wrote this curriculum on commercializing innovation. National Science Foundation got wind of it. They came in and asked Steve and his company, VentureWell, to create a business accelerator that the NSF now uses, which they require of all of their researchers. So if you're a researcher at the NSF, National Science Foundation, and you want to bring something new to the market, they have you go through this business accelerator. I mentored at this business accelerator, the same program for the University of Iowa a couple of times, and that's what got us going here about a year ago and putting this together. And so what does that do? And I'll talk a little bit more about what Ross and I have done to prepare for this, but what does that do? So everybody heard of the business model canvas, right? So the basis for the program, or the number one tool for this business accelerator, is the business model canvas. Now, if you read the book and stuff, you don't necessarily get the gist of how to utilize the business model canvas appropriately, but really it's based on discovery and execution, right? And the discovery piece is, if you think about it, you have hypotheses about what you think the problem is, what you think the solution is, who you think your customer is, and that solution or product market fit. And they're all guesses until you get out there and you figure out what sticks. And so this program actually takes us through the teams that go through it, through the business model canvas, and building the business model in a step-by-step process over the course of 7 weeks, 10 classes. And we call this like an iterative loop. And so let's start with, hey, we think we have a problem. And this is the problem that we've identified. Well, you're going to go out and do customer discovery. And when I say customer, that's really anybody that stands between you and cash. So it's not just the person buying your product or service, but it could be someone in the supply chain. It could be partners, resellers, that sort of thing. Those are all customers. And so during the process, you say, here's my problem. I want to go out and test it. Here's who I think has this problem, and we'll help identify exactly who those people are. And the teams will go out and actually interview up to 100 customers, again, anybody in that supply chain, during this process. And that number is important because it's not just a wag like, hey, you should do 100. We actually have learned that through the process of discovery, when you get to about 100, you actually begin to really understand how you fit in that supply chain for whatever industry you're going into. And it doesn't matter if it's high tech or if it's retail, this process works. So, and I kind of talked about that already. So basically, this is important. So just quickly, 10 years ago, I write business plans. That's what I've done for a long time. I was very good at writing business plans. Every time someone takes a business plan and meets the customer, it all changes, right? So what we like to say is existing businesses execute on a business plan. Startups, for the longest time, are really searching for a business model. And it didn't used to be that way. It used to be that everybody thought a startup was you write a business plan and then you go execute, and if you fail, it's because you didn't execute properly, but that's not true. What it is you didn't discover where you fit, right? So that's what this whole program is about, is discovering where that fit is. As I mentioned, so we call it the Lean Startup. You know, you can read through this, but we start with the value proposition, the customer segments first. And I don't know, you're going to, Ross, talk a little bit about how the program works day to day?
Right.
Okay. So who's in it? Ross and I. Ross and I'm the Director of Technology Commercialization at the Turner Center at Bradley. Ross is the Director of the SBDC. Ross has been here, what, 15 years? 15 years doing that. And I've been here about 3, but my background is in commercialization. I've been consulting in this area for about 12 years. So earlier this spring, Ross and I went out to Silicon Valley, went to Steve Blank's Venture Well program, the Educators program. And even though I've mentored it twice, we went out to learn exactly how to put this on. Went to Steve Blank's house, met Steve. He's got a very nice house. His dining room is like twice the size of this room. And so, but Bradley and the Turner Center thought that this program was so good that they invested the resources to get us certified as educators in this program. And so I just feel that that's important to know. Our sponsors, I just want to say thanks to them. OSF, Heinwald Banwart are helping us put this on. Along with, we have all kinds of partners, right? The EDC and a number of investor groups have joined. So the very exciting thing is we go through this program. It's kind of intensive, but it's also set up to be, and Ross will talk about this more, you can still keep your day job and go through this program, okay? It's not like an accelerator where you think, I'm domiciled and I got to be in some place for 7 weeks and not do anything else. That's not how this works. At the end, though, the final day is pitch day. And right now we have at least 6 angel and venture groups that will be there to hear the final pitches. And hopefully, we have some connections made where some of these companies actually get investment. So, and that, Ross will explain kind of how this whole thing works.
So our applications are free. It's free to apply. Those applications are due on August 22nd. And then we're going to have interviews of the teams between the 29th and the 31st. On September 1st or 2nd, we're going to be notifying those teams that got accepted. We're going to only have 10 teams in this program. Then the sessions start with a kickoff dinner on the 27th, and then we have 3 days in this room of training on September 28th, 29th, and 30th. Those are like half-day morning training, and then we get you out of the building, going out and talking to customers or potential customers or people in that between you and cash to do that customer discovery and the validation. After those first initial 3 days, for the next 5 weeks, we meet just once a week in the evenings. And that's going to be talking about what you've learned, and then also covering a little bit of lecture as well. A lot of this is going to be flipped classroom, where you're going to be watching videos before the class session, and then we're going to be talking about it, having the discussion about it. Then it ends with, on November 9th, it's going to be a full day session with final tweaks to the pitches. And then November 10th is pitch day. Now the teams, I said there were 10 teams. The cost for the team, there's 2 to 4 people in each team. The cost for the team is $500 total, because we feed you every day, and you get Steve Blank's book as well as Alex Oswaldler's business model generation book for the team. Each team will get one of those. So that's kind of the timeline. You can learn more about this at our website, bradley.edu/BraveLaunch, and let's open it up to questions.